how big is the accounts department or finance department? If that is your definition of financial committees, alright. Unless you are telling me that who are responsible for all the in and outs, then it may be the board. Then it's a different definition.
I want that too, but that's elsewhere down here. Yeah.
Okay. Alright. Then information of staff, no problem. That one you easily get. Okay. So then which one? Financial sources of fundings for each education institutions.
Yeah.
So what is this question about?
Who's providing the funds and all that?
Okay. So generally the funds are coming from shareholders.
Okay.
The initial ones. If you're talking about 3 months, everything is self-generating already.
Okay.
Alright. Then if you're talking about funding, usually should be for more on the financial institutions, banks. You're talking about leasing companies. If you're talking about purchasing assets and all those. So those are the fundings that will come in. But if you're talking about financial sources or where the fundings, the fees.
Okay.
Yeah, the fees is the ones that keep the institutions running.
Okay. Alright.
That's a more general way. So depending on which scopes.
I need both.
Okay.
I need both. If you're talking about stakeholders and all that, right? Do we have like a black and white? And is it like PNC that you can't provide me or things like that? Or you can tell me who our stakeholders are?
Stakeholders, as in shareholders, I can't give you. But usually you can get it on it's a public available information. But usually I don't want to give up unless it's necessary. Like if you were to do anything like financial transactions or anything. But usually if you want to get it, you can get it yourself.
Okay.
You can purchase it from the SSM if you want to.
Okay.
Alright, but there we will list out the shareholders. Alright, who are the shareholders? So those are the shareholders of the Sri Mas lah. So those are the ones that hold the shares of the company. Alright, then that is where when we started the company, they invest into it.
Okay. Alright.
So then after that, then if you talk about day-to-day like fundings, it can be through loans or anything. Other than that, it's just fees that is actually self-sustaining.
Okay, alright.
You already have this question how the institute generate income? Fees.
Through the fees.
Through the school academic fees.
Okay.
Then maybe if you
that's
want to break,
major one. Okay.
That's the major ones. Then you break down in a lot like examinations.
Okay.
That is another fees.
Okay.
Annual fees is another fees.
What fee? Sorry.
Annual fees.
Annual fee. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So if you want, you can actually get it from our fee structures.
Okay.
Alright, that can be part of your supporting fees because fees is our income. Very straightforward.
Okay.
Okay. Type or category of expenses.
Expenses, yeah.
How detailed are you talking about?
What kind of expenses do we have?
Well, if you just sit here, you can easily see, right? The normal expenses, major one is your payroll, because it's service industries. Alright, second one for us is rental.
Okay.
Alright, then now TNBs, waters,
maintenance. Okay.
Anything that you actually managing the schools lah, like insurance, payments, and all those. Those are the more important part of those expenses that we have incurred lah.
Okay. Do we have anything else besides this kind of very general expenses? Anything else that occurs once in a while or something unexpected expenses?
Unexpected expenses.
Something that's not planned or something that we don't do it, but suddenly we have it and then we have to come up with.
Okay. If you want to make your paper more interesting, alright. Well, I'm not too sure it's going to be relevant after the elections, but it's something that you can talk about. Alright, is the one of the major that hit us the worst is actually the GST.
Okay.
Alright, why I say so is that how familiar are you with GST?
Not really.
Not really. Okay, maybe it's something you look into it.
Okay.
Alright, there's 3 categories of GSTs that's going to happen. Standard rate, which is 6%, zero rate, 0%, and exempted. Alright?
Okay.
So, schools falls under what category?
Standard? I'm just taking again, guys. Or exempted?
It falls under exempted.
Okay.
You have to check in the GST laws. It's called fall under the exemptions.
Okay.
Alright? What does the exemptions do?
Exemption or exempt?
Exam category.
Exam category, okay.
Means that you can't charge people GST.
Okay.
Alright? However, people can charge you GST.
Okay.
Alright? So now the question is that even the law says that you can write in with the Ministry of Finance to get exemptions for the things that you can actually exempted from being charged GST.
Okay.
Alright? However, those are just limited with a very specific category. Per se, teaching equipment, computers and all those, you have to apply case by case with the MF.
Okay.
However, because our business models, the major factors is actually our rental.
Okay.
So, which in this, it was unexpected charges, which happens in 2015.
Okay.
When the GST started off. So, this is the cost that has no choice to be absorbed by the school.
Okay.
Institution.
Alright.
So, this is something maybe if you want to talk about how different you are if you want to compare with government schools.
Okay.
For us, this is very specific, a major cost that has occurred to us.
Okay. Alright. Oh yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. That's something very interesting.
Yeah, something we can really write on.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure it's going to be relevant.
It is definitely going to be relevant because most of them are doing on government schools.
Yeah.
So I think there's only one or two groups doing on private or international schools.
Right.
So we can really make a very good comparison on that GST part.
So you may need to really find out more about it. I leave it to you.
Yeah,
It's your
okay,
paper,
sure.
not responsibility to you. So I'm just leading you for something for you to explore. Huh?
Alright, okay, thank you.
Alright. Finally, well, what else? Nothing much, I guess. Well, if you want to talk about hiring expats that's coming in to teach, per se, not say expats, the foreign trainers like Greg, Evans comes in, the seats and all those expenses you may need to deal with. You'll be dealing with overseas payments and things like that, or examinations you need to pay Cambridge and things like that. Those things you may need to take that into consideration if one of those things that you want to talk about.
Okay.
Then,
But talking about foreigners coming in, how about foreign teachers who are teaching? Do we need to pay extra, or do we have things like that?
Yes, under the normally what happens is that those expats, they have their own requirements.
Okay.
So immigration laws have the minimum cap of how much you have to pay them. If I'm not wrong, I can't remember, it's like minimum cap you pay 5,000 at least in terms of their salaries. And then usually perks has to be better where they allow go back to the home country every 2 years. That kind of arrangements.
But when they go back to their home country, we don't have to like bear the ticket or...
We do have the bear. I mean, those are the perks that
it's compulsory or optional?
No. But usually when expats comes in, they will request that because that's the norm in Malaysia what expats are getting.
Okay, I see. Alright.
Okay?
Yeah.
Alright. So, okay, next one. Financial management practices in the foreign expats. Okay, so what do you want me to talk about?
Each one of it?
Okay. Budget preparations. Well, we prepare budgets yearly.
Okay. So, what are the things you have to look at when you're preparing budget?
Well, preparing budgets is definitely we have to, usually will be end of the year, preparing for next year's. So basically what we'll be looking at in terms of what's the projections of the number of students who will be coming in. So usually kids, the students that are enrolling, they will have the indications. So we have the budget space on that. So basically it's like how much we willing to allocate to the events departments to spend on the coming years, and then in the coming years, and how much the library we can spend on based on the number of students we have, how much we want to spend on like in terms of capex that doing the renovations and all those things to uplift the whole buildings and things like that. So basically those are the budgets.
But when you do budgeting, right, do you refer to the current year's budget to do the next year's budget?
There's always have to refer back and see what is it that are we off? Are we still on? So is there anything that we need to put some variances in case that is unexpected, things like that. So yeah.
Okay, right. Okay. So budget, is it always consistent every year or does it go up and down?
Usually it will be quite consistent. It won't really run away very far away. But we kind of have a formula like I say, for students events, we probably already have per head $100
Okay.
a year that we willing to spend. So we have 200 students, so we just multiply that. Okay, this is allocate that the guide that you're looking at to spend. All right, then you just spend based on that.
Okay, but have you come across scenario where you actually allocated this much of budget, but it goes much higher, much higher?
It always happens. What happens is that because ours is slightly different from the others, other schools or private institution. Why we say that? Because our style is that okay, we put the budget there. It's very much as a guideline. All right. However, when it goes out, is also we have to find the reason for that. All right. We have to really understand that. Is it really create a lot more in terms of the value? All right. Is it really necessary? Because 3 of Mass is very much stable, quite a fair bit. I think here is not so much of an issue. But if you're looking at 3 of Mass, so you still have to run the event, but you haven't reached the number of students as the break-even point. So when that happens, then you have no choice to spend the same amount, but you're unable to allocate the budgets that the number of students that are coming in is not enough to cover for those. That is where the differences, where stable institutions and the starting new ones.
Okay, so when you do budget, you do prepare 3 budgets for 3 different schools.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All schools who have their own budgets.
Okay.
It's very different because if you want to look at it, okay, PTS is a very mass model. All right. So the amount that you have to spend for the quality, you can go for cheaper. All right. For here, you may be better than what PTS is.
Okay.
VMS, you have no choice because it's an upper range. Then you have to spend a little bit more. So for the same thing, maybe like you spend for events. I can't remember already. Events, maybe there in PTS is 100. Here maybe 120. The side has to be 150.
Okay.
So that kind of different range. So that is where the difference is going to be because your business is different from each category. Unless you're talking about governments with all same, then you can't really run away from that. Yes.
So when you really do you actually put your budget based on the number of students per head? So this is the budget for per head.
Depending on what things it is.
Okay.
Like events for the students usually per 8 basis. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Then you see like other things like maybe staff events and you have a certain budgets. But of course, like electricities and all those are quite quite standardized. Rental is all quite standardized. You won't really go away from there anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Okay. Procurement management, well, I can direct you to Mr. Key. Usually we already have a standard SOPs already.
Okay.
So certain amount approved by who, certain amount approved by certain people, and then then you see from there.
Okay.
Get through.
Okay, I'll include this in my email then.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
Right.
Management of financial resources. So how you want me to explain?
How do you manage your financial resources?
Well, because our business is very much a cash flow business. All right. So because in and out, so as long as you can manage the cash flow well, then your business is not an issue already.
Okay.
Yeah. So as long as you have to manage the in and out properly.
Okay. Have you come across situation where you have a very tough time managing and then you're stuck somewhere, payment not coming in, something goes wrong somewhere?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. So when sorry. So in terms of that, what we have to do is that our policies has always we want to make sure that we pay our vendors well, we pay our teachers well and everything. That one is priority. All right. So there are times that especially real so when that happens, there are times that where the mismatch of timing.
Okay.
All right, mismatch of timing where the fundings did not come on time. Give it like paperwork basis, legalities. You know, sometimes lawyers take some time and the documents. You know, those things when bank loans, all those things may stuck somewhere. There's always a mismatch. All right. So when that happens, when you have a difficulty times, that's where we have to come in to mitigate what can we do and what needs to be paid off first. So when that happens, then we will say, okay, we have to pay off our staff first. That's priority. Then after that, then we will list out what are the things that we can delay.
Okay.
All right, what we can postpone. All right. Then we say, okay, this one no problem. Then if cannot, then we have to renegotiate with vendors and say, oh look, we're going to delay you for a few weeks and things like that, sometimes they're fine because you know we have been on time all the time. So then we have to make sure that we go after all the debtors, making sure the parents, the kids, all. So this is where the problem is. You see like once in a while suddenly the kids all go out and things like that, right? That's where there's indications a lot of mismatch. Right? The parents, and then of course our admin teams are also kind, believing their kids are okay, let you go in and everything like that. What our scenario here is that if you want to compare to a lot of private institutions, the fees are all collected in terms. We collect it on the monthly basis. So this is the problems where we have to constantly chase after the payments. So our payment terms is actually 7 days from the beginning, right? Give or takes, parents probably additional 1 more week and things like that. But of course there are fund people that be trying to be funding with us. So that's then our admin team will no choice to actually put it out from there, and then the the parents scolding, complaining, and then after that there's the start paying. So however, if you want to look at it based on the economy, actually last 2 years has been a lot more defaulters compared to previous years, because you know how our situation in Malaysia is. So that's where we need to manage it a little bit much better. Right? So have to go after them, put them out of the class, and then ban them from going, or even ban them from getting results and so on. Those are the mitigations plans that we in terms of managing the funding.
Does that work actually? Allowing them to go to the class.
All that. The moment you put them out, the kids, I can't pay now, and things like that, because you know this is the action. I mean, you have to have the consequences. Alright. If you still allow them to continue, there's no effect. It's just like, you know, it's just more like we breaking the law. We got summonses, we don't pay, we just until that when we want to renew, and then they couldn't renew because you have to pay your summonses, then only people will pay, right? True. It's the same thing, it works.
So earlier you were saying that you have the priorities and then the least priority, right? So one of the priority is paying your teachers and all that. So what are the top 3 priority and the most least 3 priority things that you look at?
Well, usually priorities is always the teachers pay first. If the examination comes in, we have to pay them first because they have a different payment terms. Because it's like if you don't pay means I don't register you. So the kids already pay, we have to manage that first. We have to settle them first. So then the others one will be more like how we want to manage it, like maybe rentals and renters. Renters usually we pay renters, landlords, because we won't really run away. So usually they are quite kind of us. We see just drag a few more weeks, they are quite okay because we always have been paying on time.
Alright. Okay, thank you.
Alright. Then payment management is pretty much just day to day lah. I think that one is not so much of the issues. It's just more like later you check how much is the amount, the approved by who, and you know, checks authorities, who is the signatories. But normally right now most of it is approved by me lah. So Mr. Key will check everything is okay, then the team will actually upload into systems, and then I will just check whether these are supported correctly and things, and then I'll just approve it online. Okay. Accounting and reporting management. So monthly we do have what we call a management report. Alright, so once they close, they're supposed to submit everything. Then I'll just review from there just to see how's the performance.
So you do the review every month?
Yes, but of course depending on how fast they actually can come up with those reports. So usually those reports will consist of P&L, balance sheets, cash flows, and then those will compare with our budgeted. So you compare budgeted, say how are we under or over, and then as well as compare with prior years to see where are we at, or are we lesser or more. That's it.
So once you're done with the review, what do you do next? What's the next step?
Well, normally they just keep it lah. And then after that it's just more like monitoring and things like that.
Do we come across any issues when you're doing reporting?
Like what kind of issues?
I'm not sure. I'm just randomly asking you. Do we have any issues? Have you come across issues? Something's not right. Something goes wrong.
Well, the thing is I mean that's what a function of management report is supposed to identify if there's anything wrong with that. So things like per se, let's say give us an example. The insurance. Alright, for the staff benefits, right? So when I took over, then I said, we are spending this much of money, what are we actually covering for the staff? Alright. Then we actually identify when we purchase a certain amount of insurance, right? Then we say, hey, okay, but we are buying something which the staff does not require.
Okay.
Alright. Then we're paying a lot for them. So that's where we kind of identify, okay, maybe we need to restructure our insurance benefits for the staff. Then that's why recently you'll see that, oh, you have a different
there's a
kind
change.
of, yes, there's a change from that. Because actually we're spending the same amount, alright, but the benefits for that is actually different.
Okay.
Alright, so then we also identify. So now the next step, because I'm also overseeing the HR, so now we identify a little bit more, like, okay, staff payroll, right? You are the teachers here. You know that if you replace someone's in the class, then you get paid extras and things like that, right? So now the HRs because we have Jane just came in this year, so she's going to help to identify and say, how much are we paying extra because of the teachers' absentees?
Okay.
Or even not in class or anything. So they have to go and identify with that quantum. Then we can say, look, teachers, you all have to be on class on time. Don't go. I mean, we give the benefit that you all to do that, but you know, the amount, how much is it I'm spending on payroll, specifically just only for absentees.
Okay.
So these are the things that where we can use those accounting reports to identify. Then say, oh, okay, why are we spending so much more on printing? All right, then can we save from there? Are we using it more efficiently? Then things like stationery, are we spending too much? All right, then including like, let's say rental, are we paying on the market price?
Okay.
All right, is it reasonable or not? So then we also need to identify with other institutions. Maybe sometimes we compare and say, hey, people are spending about 20% of their revenue on rental, but we're spending about 30%. We need to know why.
Okay.
All right. So those are the things that helps us to benchmark.
Right. But that are really huge. Like talking about rental, it's really huge. You can compare. But there's little things like printing, stationeries. How do you actually bring it to control?
Well,
is there a way to control?
Well, there is a way to control, because normally, let's say, I mean, that's what happens, that when at the beginning there's no controls, huh? So you may put in processes in. Okay, let's say printing. All right. Previously, what happens that I can see the printing cost is very high. Then Mr. Key highlighted, hey, look, it doesn't make sense. Then when they look into it, they identify printing color, printing black and white. Right. So they say, we pay so much on printing colors. Then I said, okay, then we need to find out why. Then we check with people and things like that. Do you know, one sheet, even though you color just here, you're paying the full price.
Full price, okay, yeah.
So immediately then we say, okay, look, it doesn't make sense. Then we talk to Zhonghan, the IT, say, can we work? They say, okay, fine. We standardize every system. Default is black and white. Okay. If you want color, you have to change it yourself.
Okay.
Then it's a behavior change.
Right.
Then immediately people don't take it for granted. They just print, or everything is black and white. So, so with that, we're able, then we bring down the cost again.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just more like, you know, that's where we are to see that whether what can be done to slowly identify, you know, what can we do better and things like that.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Asset management and supply. What supply are we talking about?
I think randomly, generally all the supplies.
Okay. Well, asset management, usually what we do is that we have to identify the assets, asset taggings and things like that, and then they have to identify, and then if they want to dispose or anything, then they have to put a form in, saying the write off, and what's the reason that, you know, they are writing it off, then they have to do replacements or anything, then it all has to be proper procedures.
Okay. Do we have this procedure written anywhere?
Written wise, well, still a work in progress. It's something that I'm chasing our team to really work on it. But of course, my team do have some level of forms in place, so they just know which forms they need to use and just get it authorized to sign off before they dispose or anything.
When you talk about dispose, what exactly are you talking about?
Broken chairs, broken tables, and things like that. Because the idea is very simple. Like for us, normally you see, what the financial functions is also, we have to really make sure there's no wastage, no leakages, all right, no abuses, all right. So our positions has to stand firm, very, very sure. Alright? If your procedures are not clear enough, you're going to get yourself in trouble because people who tends to abuse and take for granted and waste. Take for example, claims, entertainments, you know, they say they're spending for something else, but actually they're not, and you know, things like that. So those things we have to put in place to actually ensure consistencies.
Okay.
So no one can abuse it. Alright? Let's take for example, broken chairs. Alright? So when people keep on asking me, okay, hey, I want to buy new chairs because a lot of broken chairs. Then we say, okay, if they need to replace, then we need to know how many actually we have written off previously, and whether now is it meet the need of all the students. Alright, you have 60, you know, if you have 60 students per se, take for example, you theoretically you should have at least minimum 60 chairs. Alright, then suddenly they say, oh, I need another 60. So you're like, okay, why do you need 60s? Alright, then you need to justify it. Alright, whether oh maybe we write off 30 already, but we need to replace the 30. So okay, 30 is fine. Then what about the remaining 30? Then we have to say, oh, because we are preparing or bring new classes or what. So they need to justify the purchases. And if we say written off, then we need to check my old files that is it actually has been written off. You know, things like that. So if they are not, then we have a question saying why didn't you submit those things? Then there's a problem there. Because if you talk about let's say chairs, do you know there's value there? Because even though you write off, you sell to scrap metals, the things people may steal and things like that. So those are the things that where we have to put in procedures to make sure there's no abuses and things like that.
Okay. Yeah. So they basically fill in the form, but where do this go for disposal? If they really want to throw it away because it's broken, it goes to rubbish, right? Or it goes to a certain.
Well,
company?
they usually will have certain people to collect those scraps to get it done. So I'm not too sure the details, but usually they have a bin, they just put it there, depending what are the things that we're looking at. Because chairs, there are people who usually collect. And then certain things that waste, then we just throw it. We just have to dispose it in the correct manner.
Correct manner, okay. Alright.
Oh?
Okay.
Financials and audit reports, do you need that?
Okay, this Teacher Melina did not approve, so that's completely fine.
Okay.
It's optional. But can I know who is our internal auditor?
We don't have an internal auditor.
How come? I thought everyone should have. Every company should have an internal auditor.
No, it's not a requirement.
Okay.
A listed companies who require internal auditors.
Okay.
Alright. A standard Berhad is not required.
Okay.
Alright. So no internal auditors, if you want to say.
External?
External is that confirm every company must have.
Okay.
So external auditors is more towards the financials.
Okay.
Alright. So every years they will have to come in and audit and prepare a financial account.
Okay.
To be submitted to the SSM and the tax.
Okay. So is it okay to reveal our external auditor's name or the company's name? Like if I want to know who is our external auditor.
Can, no problem. I can give you the name. Later I'll just text you who is the auditor's name.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
Then the challenges, what are the issues or challenges do you come across as a whole?
Challenges, there's always challenges with anything. I don't know where to start actually.
Anything that gives you a headache every month, almost every month?
Well, I think it's more when the business is stabilized, everything is fine. But it's more like the new businesses, of course, which is VMS is the new businesses that's still infanting and still not still growing and things. Challenges, there's always challenges in many things, like changes in the economy, changes in regulations. Those things can be a challenge. It's just like how GST comes in. It kick off 6% of your margins, right? Things like that. And then regularly, like, you know, local councils, licensing that you need to deal with, and making sure that you have everything as operating as a schools, and then probably, you know, you have to do taxes, making sure that everything are fine. Those are day-to-day things that I don't know whether you call it challenges or issues. We still have to deal with it because there are many other details that deal with it. Like per se, if you want to look into it as well, under the MIDA, you know MIDA, right?
MIDA, yeah.
Or like Malaysia, don't know what development agencies, alright. So we do apply for. We always have to keep and watch anything that benefit us, right?
Yes.
So we apply for pioneer status, for ITA, income tax allowance, and things like that, which benefit the business. So you can say that we have to deal with audits, we have to deal with challenges, we have to talk to officers explaining that our projections and things like that. So those things. And if you want to talk about new challenges, you'll be like what we're going through right now. Basically, we have to go through restructuring. Why we go through restructuring is because it allows a much better corporate restructure that where institutions, investors can come in to bring up more value of the company.
Okay. So the restructuring happens every now and then?
It's happening now.
Okay.
Right. So it depending on your phases, alright? Previously we done by hand, now we'll just some small shareholders and things like that. So now we're going through a restructuring where that you'll be much more cleaner, that where institutions can easily come in and invest, then you actually help to grow the whole company and things like that.
So when you talk about much cleaner, you mean much organized?
Yes,
as a whole.
Correct. Yeah, so if you want to see a much more cleaner way of how a group structure is going to be, you always prefer to look at the listed company. Okay, a listed companies you always have one holding, and then there's all the subsidiaries. That's where is much cleaner in that sense. Usually it should be 100%, or at least depending joint venture or whatever. So there's always one holding. Right now we are like everywhere because it's just when we just grow as what we think we believe in it. But of course, with institutions, they don't deal with so many parties. They probably don't deal with one party or two maximum. So we just have to restructure and place all the companies in the proper way, which we have to deal with a lot of matters. First, do we require our school license requirement? Do we fulfill all the taxes issues? Do we issues with all the different share structures? Have to deal with all the minorities, what they feel. If they disagree, they agree. We have to deal. So it's a lot of all the relationship matters as well. We have to really manage it as well.
Okay. So this comes in yearly or monthly? This licensing, taxing, and all that. You do it yearly basis?
Well, taxes is yearly. Alright. Shareholders you have to deal with every AGM.
Okay.
Alright. Then licensing is yearly as well. But of course, but the thing is that because you're doing restructuring, you have to take all those into consideration. So if I will change into it, because Malaysians we have booming participations, the MOE's law may change, so you don't know. Alright, so maybe this year they say, no booming participation is required. Then we say, okay, that's fine. Then suddenly, if they suddenly decided, you must have 51% booming participation, you must have 60%, then your whole share structures may change. Alright, because you may need to fulfill those requirements. Yeah.
So are you the one who's keeping track on the changes? If there's changes, are you the one who's supposed to keep track, or is there someone who gives you an update?
Well, it's just more like the board of directors who get updated from our consultants or what. They say, hey, what's going on? Then we go and find out. We talk to MOE and things like that. So mostly we'll get the first news first. Then after that we'll check on the groundworks what needs to be done.
Have we come across situations where we missed something that we're supposed to be doing? For example, a new rule implemented but we missed it, or we were not up to date, and we get into the issue?
Not so much. I mean, we have been always on par. Yeah, we aware what's going on and things like that.
Alright. If you were given a chance to give a suggestion to improve on the way we manage financial as a whole, what would you give in 3Ms?
We're always improving though, so that's if you want to see different phases, I won't say that we are perfect. Alright, to put it in a nutshell, and we are good at the business. So depending on how you want to look at it, for me, I see it very differently. Alright, we have to see in the business sense. Alright, we always bring in the business sense. So when you look at it, the cycle of the business, right? What is the most priority? So the priority is the business part first. Alright, I mean, lecturers may disagree with me or whatever it is. If you want to look at it, the business, what brings in the revenues and all those is the most important part. Alright, so that's the whole reason why that at this point in time, our focus has always getting your teachers done, right? Training done, right? Getting the kids happy about their schoolings, and this has always been our priority. Alright, now then when you look at the whole cycles, right, the last part, right, is actually the financial part.
Okay.
All right. We have reached one cycle already, so now it's just more like, okay, we need to improve more. All right. There's a lot of things need to be improved in our financial or even in our accounts departments, because we are going another phase of growing, like what Anne is going through right now, talking about institutions, right? Then so we need to do restructuring. All right.
Okay.
Right. Then we also need to tighten up our financial reporting. Why? Because when you have financial institutions comes in, because they're not in day-to-day operations, they only see the financial reports. How are you doing? And then they can advise and things like that. So it's just like a whole cycle. So we are always improving, and that's what we are doing. So there's a lot of things that we are doing just to improve our financial. So like per se, if you want to talk about it, prefer that our accountings, I mean the figures, all reportings to be as soon as possible coming up, making sure things are in place, and then training the team to be able to identify the issues and things like that. So those are a lot of things that we can improve in, and working towards it. Like how Anne is going through with the whole endeavor process, right? So they may not know what's going on the ground, but of course they were asking questions based on just overall. So now we are putting it into like more into marketing expenses. Previously we don't. Now we put in more marketing to get more new students. Then they also have their own indications. How do you look into your marketing expenses are used efficiently? So it becomes like, what's your conversion rate? Are you hitting the right market? Are you hitting the right spot? So there's a lot of things that you need to consider into just looking at the financials.
Right. Okay. So do we have any specific kind of accounting system or accounting book or a way we keep track on an account?
Well, we're using an accounting system called SAP B1.
SAP?
Yes, B1.
B1?
Yes.
Okay. So what are the rules and regulation to use this, or anything specific?
No rules and regulations. I mean, it's accounting software that you can use, depending on which company, how sophisticated that you require it in.
Okay.
Alright, so if you want to talk about what accounting standards that we're using, actually now it should be under the MPERS, MPERS. Malaysia, wow, I cannot remember what's that. Because it doesn't really affect us so much as compared to listed company, because smaller company like us would not require very sophisticated accounting standards.
Okay.
Alright, we call it the Malaysian Private Entities Reporting Standards.
Okay.
Alright, it's issued under the MASB, Malaysia Accounting Standard Board.
Okay.
Alright, if you're talking about listed co, then have this MFRS, Malaysian Financial Reporting Standard. But ours is SME, it's the name behind, right? So we fall under the MPERS.
Okay. So what is this SAP stands for?
SAP, SAP, I don't know what it stands for, but it's a very famous software, accounting software. You can just Google it.
Okay.
Alright. So it's a software that we use.
Okay. So are we using Cashbook?
You mean in the what's that? Accrual or cash?
Generally for anything, do we use Cashbook?
Like physical cash?
Physical Cashbook, yes.
We don't actually. Unless you're talking about dealing with some transactions we just don't want to deal with in the accounting, like smaller amount. Like they go for excursions or
excursions, small amount, is it? No, I'm just wondering.
No, because
you see,
this is the problem. This where, I mean, I would say it's a fine line that we choose. We just don't want to have the hassle to key in the systems, right? Certain small amounts like 30 ringgit, 50 ringgit. Then you have to key in the systems where the GST, so you have to print out. So it takes a very long time to process that. So sometimes you just, I collect no visitors, then we just manage it on a separate thing, but not exactly into the system. So if when we want to put in the system, we just put it at a lump sum. So we don't need to like individually have a key in, because we looking at what makes works more efficient rather than you system everything, then the parents will be waiting, done already or not, later system down, just in case I say internet down, and then like waiting for loading, and then parents want waiting, then the kids come and pay, but they have to go for class and things like that. So sometimes we just use a very simple, just I'll write it for you, give you a temporary receipt or anything. Sometimes then we just collect the amount, acknowledge that you have paid, then we just deal with the other process later.
But even this cash book actually goes in during auditing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But of course we key into it, but
okay.
as a one lump sum, so they just look at it. I mean, but the amount, sometimes, you see, auditings, I'm in part of the audit team before, so auditing small amounts, they don't really bother.
Okay.
Right? They call it immaterial.
Okay.
So they look at the bigger amount,
okay.
then to make their accounts, that's it. The small amount, sometimes they hold down the, hey, 50 cents not tally, they're not going to argue with that.
Okay.
So if they argue with me, they probably get scolded.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, that is pretty much. But can I get a bit of your background, your personal background? Where were you before? Just to include in my.
Oh.
Yeah. Where were you before? How many years? Your experience? You can talk about yourself.
Okay. All right. Well, I graduated from Monash University, Australia, Clayton.
Okay.
I can't remember which year, 2009, I think. Okay. So then after that, immediately I joined PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Okay.
All right, for 3.5 years.
What is it again?
PricewaterhouseCoopers, now short name called PwC.
Okay.
It's a big four auditing firm down in KL Central.
Okay.
All right. So I'm under the assurance team.
Okay.
All right. Assurance teams, the specific departments, last time they call it PLAS.
Okay.
PLAS.
Okay.
Plantations, logistics, automobiles, and shipping.
Okay.
All right. So I was there for 3.5 years. Okay. Last time I used to audit with listed companies, like if you want to list like KBJ, Sainabi, Famaniagas, those, and then J. Russells, those are the major clients that I'm part of the audit team.
Okay.
All right. So then I actually study half, work and study at the same time. Then I gotten my chartered accountant under the Institute of Chartered Accountant of Australia and New Zealand.
Okay.
So used to be called ICAA, now becomes ICAA and ZAC.
Okay, I'm familiar.
All right.
Okay.
And also part of MIA as well.
Okay.
Malaysian Institute of Accountants. Then after that I left. During the time I'm still half like being here as well as doing, but of course that one's more part-time.
Oh, you were here at that time?
I already part of it. But I resigned as a director because of conflict of interest when I'm working with PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Okay.
Because you can't be holding any office positions in other institutes. Yes, conflict of interest, because you audit those companies, you can't.
Okay.
So I resigned, but actually I'm at the background helping whatever I can. But of course, that one not to be inside lah.
Okay.
Then after that, once I'm done, I chatted, then I left them. So I joined my dad's companies as well as here as well. So I'm actually managing 2 groups of companies. So as in logistics industries as well as education.
Right. So you joined 3MS in which year? How many years already now?
I really can't remember.
More than 4 years, 5
After
years?
I left PwC, so 3.5, maybe 2009, 2013?
13, somewhere there.
2012, 13.
12, 13.
I think so, I can't remember.
Okay.
I have to check because I haven't really updated my resume, or I haven't even bothered to do that at all. So after I left them there, I'm actually part of it really. It's just that I'm just taking back my positions in terms of that. So we'll be looking after this place, then after that DMS started, but also in my dad's company as well, which is in Keng. So I'm managing 2 groups.
But you're part-timer here, right? Full-timer here, right? Or consider part-time? Since you're full-time, still full-time.
It's a full-time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just that I have a lot of delegations and things like that, so I'm just more monitoring, making sure everything in line. Making sure, that's why I'm always moving around.
Okay, but you do come in every day? Come into Sri, or regardless Sri or Dewey,
I'm moving around. Moving around. It can be. I can do work literally anywhere.
Okay.
So it's not an issue that I need to be specific sitting down here. No, I can be doing in 3 months, but I'm doing 3 months work, or I'm just doing for the whole group. So specifically, just flexible.
Okay. All right. That's it.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yes. Thank you so much.
No problem.
It was so
Give
good.
you a lot of information.
Yes. I'm so glad.